As some of you might remember, I was playing Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy not too long ago. This was before my microphone blew. This is the new one I'm using. It's pretty good. But yeah, the microphone blew and I really couldn't continue. So I did have a PS2 copy because that's where I got my copy to convert with OpenGL. So I decided to play the PS2 version and I beat it in 2 days. To at least make up for that, I am gonna give my thoughts on the game here, because I really can't do a blind playthrough anymore because I already beat the game, so that kinda defeats the point. Overall, a lot of what I said about the controls in Jak 2 apply to Jak 1. The game is ultimately much more fair than Jak 2, thank God. And it is a very bright visual game. Like, it is very colorful. Like, enemies stand out very well from the environment. And I never really got overly lost. Like, the game was pretty good in, like, pointing me in the right direction without me exactly knowing it. There was only a handful of times where I genuinely got lost, but that's more my issue, not asking around the village too often, as you could see in the playthrough. But once I asked around in the PS2 version, I knew exactly what I was doing, thank God. Overall, I do think it's a game that really has held up extremely well in terms of both gameplay and visuals. Like, there really isn't much on the game that I would say was dated, and aside from, like, honestly, I think it would only need to be ported in HD. I don't think a remaster or a remake would be really warranted. But then again, the GAL engine is a nightmare to work with because only like a handful of people actually understood it, and it took fans like years to actually make software to make them into PC ports. The dialogue itself is very funny. It comes off very natural in a way. There are more than one times where I was just ugly laughing while I was playing. And a lot of the characters are very entertaining to be around, especially Daxter. And yeah, it's a very delicate balance between funny and annoying, and the game walks that line almost effortlessly. It helps that all the voice work is just superb, especially among the main cast and the various NPCs you come across. There's really not a bad performance in the game, which is astounding. It wasn't really until Metal Gear Solid where we began to see consistent great voice acting in gaming, and I'm glad that really took a hold. One of the few things I will say about the game that I wasn't particularly a fan of was the fact that the villains weren't overly involved in the plot. GAL and Maya were almost non-entities to a degree. Like, you only see them a handful of times, and honestly, it's like, just give me more. Like, the reason why Baron Praxis worked so well is because he was a constant presence in both the city and all that. He had a personal hand in Jak's, current situation. Jak 2 just gives you a reason to hate Baron Praxis, and it reinforces that across the game, like the propaganda stands, the Crimson Guard, and so much other stuff. It all builds together, and when you finally get to fight him for the first time, it feels cathartic. And then you fight him again, and then he dies to Core. Then again, Core is a bigger bad than Praxis, and honestly, I like him as an antagonist, like the classic, oh, the villain was, hiding amongst the heroes the whole time, and it works there because Core can, he easily comes off as relatively convincing at being a decent person, but it's like the little things that slip, and you're kind of just like look at him going like, okay, that's a bit of an odd thing to say, but whatever, you're an old weirdo. And then when it comes out, you're just like, oh, I was right. Fuck. But yeah, I do wish GAL and Maya were much more involved villains, they got more involved with fucking with Jak and Daxter in a way. It would have been interesting to see. But of course, hindsight is 2020, and the game was relatively difficult to develop for thanks to varying issues over the years, and it's a miracle how games come together at all. Like, all cylinders have to be rolling, and if one is, not rolling, the whole thing kind of just grinds to a halt and caves in on itself. I am also looking very forward to playing Jak 3 when I can find a copy of it, because OpenGL doesn't have that supported yet, unfortunately, which, of course, they're still in the beta for Jak 2, so yeah. I'm really want to finish out the trilogy. I don't know if I'm gonna play The Lost Frontier. Oh boy. I hope not. I'll probably not. I'll probably get it for collector's sake anyway. You know, just like the full Jak and Daxter collection and all that. But yeah, if I were to give Jak and Daxter a rank, I would give it a point up on Jak 2, mainly because it's a much more fair experience and is more fun. Like, and also it feels like the last of like the true-blooded platform era, where the collectathon basically died for years. And going back to that, it's so weird because I never grew up with a collectathon, so it's like experiencing that from one of the best in the genre. It's something beautiful. And I really get what people say about collectathons now. They're actually pretty fun. I'm currently playing SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, and that is also very fun. So I think I found a small niche for myself. The collectathon addict. Maybe. But yeah, I can't wait to play Jak 3. I hope you all enjoyed my incoherent ramblings. This has been Lucky Kennedy. Peace out.